So, first and foremost, look at this. Anytime I'm here at the Barta Center, I'm just so pleased with the way this project came out. And I hope the residents of the North Side really enjoy this. And I certainly want to take an opportunity to thank Senator Fred Akshar, who provided $300,000 for this project. And as you can see, Senator, this facility has been put to great use. So why we are here today, I gotta tell you, I'm so excited. I gotta think about where I want to start here. It has been no secret, and I've said this many times before since the day I was elected, that historically, I and many others feel that the north side of the city of Binghamton has been neglected for decades. And there was a group of us that made a commitment that we were going to do as much as we could to improve the conditions of the north side. And as many of you know, there have been a number of projects to date. But after every announcement that we've made to date on the north side, whether it was the recent $20.5 million Canal Plaza project at the former Big Lots Plaza, whether it was the $4.1 million homeless housing project that's going to take place down the street, whether it was multiple demolition projects, whether it was major street improvements, the response was always, that's great, thank you very much, but what is the status of the grocery store, right? So together, we are going to answer that question. And we are very pleased to announce that a full-service grocery store is coming to the north side of the city of Binghamton. So, there is a lot to say, so brace yourselves. I'm gonna spend a lot of time talking about how this occurred and how it came to fruition. But the starting point where I'd like to begin is this is truly another example of the power of partnerships. There is no one person involved in this. There is a coalition, a team of people, and many of them are standing here today with Senator Fred Akshar, Dr. Joseph Sellepack, who is the Executive Director of the Broome County Council of Churches. We have Diane Brown from the Community Foundation of South Central New York. We have Bruce Levine, who is the developer of the Canal Plaza project, the $20.5 million project I referenced. Elaine Miller, who is the Executive Director of the Binghamton Housing Authority. And of course, there are many individuals here from the United Way and the Healthy Lifestyle Coalition officials, which operate this wonderful program out of the Lee Barta Center. So, it's been a long time coming to this day, and the nuts and bolts of this are very simple. The Council of Churches will operate a grocery store, and the location of the grocery store is going to be in the Canal Plaza project. It is going to be a wonderful, wonderful project that takes 5,000 square feet. That's the size of the store, and will provide Northside residents and the broader community with affordable, healthy foods, focusing primarily on access to fresh fruits and vegetables, meats and dairy products, and the store will also offer frozen foods and dry goods. And the Council of Churches, I really could not speak more positively about Dr. Joe Sellepack and his team. A truly wonderful partner. The Council of Churches has graciously agreed to operate the store in conjunction with Your Bargain Grocer. Your Bargain Grocer, remember that name. That is a successful social purpose grocery store that is located in Utica, New York. Your Bargain Grocer opened 10 years ago in Utica in a 1,200 square foot space and has since generated $1 million in profits since that time. And just last month, the store moved to a $3.5 million facility, 10 times the size of its location. That's how successful Your Bargain Grocer has been in Utica. So the Council of Churches, which operates Chow, has signed a food sourcing and technical assistance agreement with Your Bargain Grocer to replicate the Utica store model on Binghamton's north side. So what that means, what that agreement means is that the Council of Churches will receive formal guidance from management at the Utica store, and more importantly, are able to tap directly into the store's expansive supply chain of growers, producers, major distributors to stock the shelves on the Northside store. Access to that supply chain will enable the Northside grocery store, like the Utica one, to acquire and sell its product at a lower cost than big box grocers. And so, as a nonprofit social purpose grocery store, the profits will be used to support other services provided by the Council of Churches, including programs aimed at addressing food insecurity, such as Broome Bounty, to support local community meal programs. And the store will have a zero waste food policy. Council of Churches plans to hire and train Northside residents to work in the store to build community buy-in and participation in the project. The store is expected to employ approximately 3 management positions and 8 part-time positions. And funding for the store has come from a variety of different sources. Once again, one of my favorite partners to work with has stepped up to the plate, and that's our state senator, Senator Fred Akshar, who has secured a $150,000 grant to go towards the build-out and equipment for this store. Without that grant, once again, this project would not come to fruition. Thank you, Senator Akshar. City of Binghamton will also be providing a $150,000 grant from our federal community development block grant allocation. And our other funding partners include the Stuart W. and Wilma Hoyt Foundation, $40,000, and the Community Foundation of Central New York at $20,000. And there are additional funding partners that have made commitments that we're finalizing those financial agreements as well. So you will continue to hear about a number of other, whether it might be institutions or community organizations, that will continue to provide funding for this wonderful, wonderful project. As far as the name will be announced at a later date. The store will be open 6 days a week. And as many of you know, it goes without saying that the North Side has been without a grocery store for now 22 years. And so there are a couple of things that I really just want to talk about in greater detail as we, before I ask some of our speakers to come up. One of the great things about Senator Akshar, conversations genuinely go like this. Do you have everything you need? What can I help you with? How much do you need? What are the projects you're working on? And as you know, there's a lot going on in Albany right now, right? And there's so many other issues at the statewide level that the senator and others have to deal with. But he's never forgotten where he came from, and he's never forgotten the people of the North Side. He is a wonderful, wonderful partner to work with. And this is just the latest of a series of projects that he's funded in the city of Binghamton. And Chow, I want to take a moment to talk about the city's relationship with Chow, because when I was first thought about running for mayor, I remember in 2013, and I think some of you were there, we were talking about this issue, and the city of Binghamton, we said our plan was going to be operate on 2 tracks. We were going to talk about and come up with a plan to address some of the short-term issues, to provide immediate short-term solutions, and then work on a long-term track to address the grocery store. And one of the first things we were able to do is work with Chow to establish a mobile market at the Binghamton Plaza and the Barta Center in Town and Country. And I think many of you know that during that period of time, there was about 28,000 pounds of food that were sold and given away during that period of time, and approximately 4,900 customers were served. Again, that wasn't a permanent solution, but it was a short-term solution to the issue of fresh fruits and vegetables. And then Chow had another idea, and they said, well, we want to have a mobile bus, right? And we want to incorporate more than just canned foods and fruit. Yeah, right. It just drove by as we were talking. I almost referenced that. I said we orientated it differently. You could have driven by in the
It's
backdrop.
unmistakable. It's like a neon glow.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, through the creativity of the team at Chow, they wanted to focus on a bus and so that it would be the dry cans and fresh fruits and vegetables, and also equipment that had a cooler so you could put meats in there. Phenomenal idea, and as you know, it's still in service because it just drove by. We wanted to help fund that, provided some federal money for some of the cooler and freezing equipment. And as many of you know, we also worked on a short-term shuttle to Weiss and Price Chopper. Again, not long-term solutions, but trying to come up with ways to address the issue in the short term. And it was through these partnerships that or through these projects that our relationship continued to grow and expand. And when I say that this is a team of people, a coalition, a partnership, not only of the individuals who are standing here behind me, but many others who are in this room and who are in the community, I truly, truly mean that, because our approach at the city is we had to think outside of the box, right? It's been 22 years. Why is it so difficult, right? And so, there's that saying that those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it, right? So the approach was always, let's call Weiss, call Wegmans, call Price Chopper, call Aldi's, call Save-A-Lot, and the list goes on and on and on. And a different administrative team would come in, they'd make the same series of calls, and you'd get the same result. So we couldn't just continue along those paths. And so some of the primary issues was the previous plan or team would want to build a new building to house the grocery store. Well, that costs a lot of money to do that. As construction costs increase, you either have to build a new building or you have to lease space. And a lot of the buildings that are currently here in close proximity to this location needed a lot of work. So our plan from the very beginning, and I'm kind of, this is a roundabout way to talk about our other wonderful partner, Bruce Levine, is that when we were originally talking about this project, 48 units of affordable housing, 3 storefronts, that project took care of a lot of the cost of constructing the commercial space, because the developer builds a vanilla box, and we're able to fund some of the improvements to turn it into a grocery store and get a tenant in there. That was always our plan. And I can't say enough about the Binghamton Housing Authority and Bruce Levine's willingness to not only work with us on this project, but also do whatever it takes. Let me know how I can help you. Meeting with Chow, meeting with the city, talking about other funding sources and ways to make sure that this works for the residents of the North Side. This is how projects come off the drawing board and become a reality, because for a long period of time, there are a lot of very good, well-intentioned people that have been working on this issue, and I certainly don't want to minimize the efforts that have been put in by a lot of people over a long period of time, but we needed a different path. We needed to think outside the box and come up with a plan that would work, that would be realistic, that we could realistically come up with the funding sources for, and this is it. And I could not be more excited, especially when you have a successful model in place in Utica, you have agreements in place. We don't have to invent or reinvent the wheel. We're teaming up with experts, we're getting their guidance, and this is not only good for the North Side, but for all of the operations with Chow as well. This is a brand new store. All of the equipment is new. This is the same type of produce that you're going to see in other grocery stores. It didn't start out at another store and is getting close to its end of its useful life and ending up in the north side of the city of Binghamton. This is fresh fruit and produce that and other products that you'd see anywhere else you go. So that was a lot, but I wanted to make sure that there are a lot of people that I mentioned and talked about how we came to this today, because one of the things that's very important to me is that there have been a lot of promises and false starts. And I think when people announce projects that don't come to fruition, it provides a sense of false hope to individuals. And so this is why we wanted to make sure that we had our I's dotted and our T's crossed, and that this was going to come to fruition. And so it was very important, I know, to myself, to all of the individuals in this group, that even though we're able to do other wonderful projects on the north side, we've never lost sight of this. We've always been working in this in the background. And I'm just so pleased with everyone that we were able to come together and get this done for the residents of the north side. And with that, I'd like to introduce one of my great friends and wonderful partners to work with, an individual who has literally, his contributions have made the difference in whether or not projects on the north side and the city of Binghamton, whether or not they come to reality or stay on the drawing board, and that's Senator Fred Akshar.
Thank you. So before I begin, I think we should give a big round of applause to the Northside residents, because this project doesn't come to fruition without your advocacy and without you making lots of noise and ensuring that elected leaders and other community partners know exactly what it is that your particular community needs. So big round of applause for the So today is definitely a long time coming, and I just personally want to thank all of the community partners that made this a reality. It's interesting, right? The mayor talks a lot about taking a team approach. And in fact, a lot of the projects that we're doing do in fact take that team approach. And really, we're all looking to create opportunities really just to provide a better quality of life for individual people and for their families of our community. And as the mayor said, it's not just the people standing behind this podium, right, who get to talk about a particular project. There are tens and hundreds of people who work for us in some capacity, or other organizations who are behind the scenes and working incredibly hard to bring these projects to fruition. I think about my past life as a member of law enforcement, and I spent a great deal of time in this neighborhood, working on complex issues, a plethora of issues. I have to say that those issues that we worked on in law enforcement were incredibly important. But I say with a great deal of certainty, the projects that we have worked on since taking my new role in the state senator have been incredibly gratifying, incredibly satisfying to be able to really help and play a very small role in transforming this particular community. The mayor also talked about teamwork, and I have to be honest with you, this mayor, Mayor Rich David, is an incredible leader. Every team requires a captain, and Rich David has been a remarkable captain to the team of people that are bringing these projects to fruition. Mayor, I just want to publicly thank you and your team for your tireless effort, being incredibly diligent, being a steady hand at a time when people want to rush into things and say, let's just do this. The mayor commented on that, right? Promising a project and then it not coming to fruition. I think that the fact that you have had a steady hand, a calm voice, and just you've been a great captain. And the people in the city of Binghamton, the people of Broome County are incredibly blessed to have you as a leader in our community. Look, this is the way people want government to work, right? They want government, community organizations, regardless of our political persuasion, to come together, work together for the betterment of our community. So I would like to say this. I think that we are rising to the challenges here on the north side and in so many other neighborhoods throughout our community. And again, I'm proud to play a very small part in this. I would be remiss if I didn't thank publicly my predecessor, who is no longer with us. Senator Libous secured this money many, many years ago, and I was elected on the 5th day of November, 2015. The very next day, I spent the day with Mayor David, and this is one of the projects that he talked about. And he said, don't let Albany take that money. And in 2015, I was asked, can I have that $150,000 to spend it on something else? And I said, hell no. I said the same thing in 16, 17, and 18, and here we are in 19. Thank God we still have the money, and we're bringing the project to fruition. So, again, congratulations. Congratulations to the mayor and to the rest of the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Joe Sellepack to come up. I think he's truly an individual that that needs no introduction, well known in the community for the great work that Chow has done. And just also want to recognize the members of your team, Mike Lakey and Jack Seaman, who have done great work with you. Another individual who is really at the core. Chow is the engine of this project. And Dr. Sellepack is somebody who has been on the front lines of dealing with issues like food insecurity and hunger for a long period of time, long before it was really gets the attention, I think, publicly and from government that it really should have. Him and his team it's truly a labor of love. He has been fighting for the residents of the North Side, the residents of the city of Binghamton, the residents of Broome County, to make sure they get access to what they need. He has been a tremendous partner to work with, and I'm so excited to be able to work with Dr. Joe on this project. Dr. Joe Sellepack.
So, as everyone knows, you don't get to this point where you make an announcement to everyone without a lot of people acting as stepping stones that get you to where you need to go. It's a staircase. And in our case, and my board can attest to it, it's a winding staircase. It's one of those ones that gotta make a curly Q. It feels like you're not going anywhere at times, right, Don? You feel like you're just going in a circle like this, but you're somehow getting to the top of that mountain. For a year and a half, we have been deliberating, and we've been talking about a grocery store. We can't talk about it in public because we're not at a point where we can make those kinds of promises to people. But we wanted to get to a point where we had a product that we were proud of, that we believed in, and that we knew we could get buy-in from other people in order to achieve it. I brought with me, this is the roadmap. I have had this with me ever since the first meeting. When I talked to Diane and Tina and people from the Community Foundation, they were actually the ones who had a little bit of a vision for this project. Tina went on and did a search on nonprofit grocery stores, and they found this grocery store in Utica, and then put together a little group of us that went up there, and I was privileged to be a part of that. Mike was there, so was members of my staff. And we got to go up there and just talk with them about what they do in Utica and how they do their work. And you know, what was interesting was that we started thinking about the fact that, well, we do all the things that they're doing with the money that they raise. We feed people, we have we build wheelchair ramps, we do flood relief. You know, if there is a need in the community and you're looking for the Council of Churches, we're always in the background trying to help promote the needs and say to people, look, you know, this is here. So when 250 people were flooded out of their house, 250 families were flooded out of their houses in the floods of 2011, it was the Council of Churches that stood up and said, we'll take care of that problem. We are nothing if we are not deliberate. And one of my favorite board members is here. Don, I'm glad you're here, because I'm a big picture person, but Don gets in the mud, and he lets me know what the mud is like. Barb, you know this too. And so we had an amazing discussions inside of the board, but we also had this community team that was all meeting, and we met for a year and a half, every month, every 2 months. We hashed out whether there would be enough community funding, and then we had the benefit of talking to Catherine Schwafferman and the people from the Hoyt Foundation, and they came forward as early inductors into this whole process. So thank you so much for doing that, for being a part of that, because you need that first person to say, we've got some money from local sources that's going to be put toward the project. And they took it to their board, and their board president is here, Jeff Smith. And it's great that you guys came forward and did the hard work and made that decision to support this project. There are lots of other people that are going to be coming out of the woodwork to help us with this project because it requires an entire community of support. We're not even halfway up the staircase, friends. That thing that went like this, we still have to work out the legalities of how this is going to be protecting the assets of the Council of Churches, because we don't want the grocery store to affect our ability to do the good work that we do through CHOW and through many of the other programs that we do at the council. But we also have to work out how it's going to run, who's going to put in the refrigeration units, how we're going to raise the rest of the money. A lot of things are inside of a little bit of flux, and as you're going up that staircase, it takes a while for us to get to the top of the mountain. But once you get there, what a view it's going to be. I'm really looking forward to November when we can look back on this and say, look, here are the different steps that we took. Here's where we're at. We're opening a brand new store, and here's the results that you're going to see from it. I'm really looking forward to that day. Need you to know that it's been a pleasure, and I say this with all, I'm a passionate person, you can tell. I work for the best board in Broome County. The Council of Churches board is, I don't get to say it enough to them. One meeting kind of almost evolved into a crying fit, but I work for the best board. They take risks and they do good work. And I want you to know that all of these people come from congregations. Most of them come from congregations in our area. And they go to church. They're people of faith. And faith gets a bad rap a lot of the time. We're looked at as being judgmental. We're looked at as being, just think of the worst things that you could think about people, right? We're loud, we complain, we're judgmental. But I want you to know that if it weren't for people of faith stepping forward and doing things like this, this whole grocery store idea would be left up to only the people who view the north side through the lens of whether it's economically viable, whether there's shrinkage there, all the poor assets of the area. Unless you have a little bit of faith, you're not going to get to the top of that mountain. And so I want to thank the congregations that comprise the Council of Churches, the places where our pantries are located. And I also want to thank the people that are willing to take a risk on us, like Fred Akshar and like Mayor David and Diane and Catherine, because we're going to get the job done. So, thanks.
So now I'd like to ask the developer of the project, the Canal Plaza project, Bruce Levine, to come up and say a few words. As he indicated, he's been great to work with, not only from the affordable housing project to make sure that there's safe, quality, affordable housing here to replace some of the blighted substandard housing that we've been removing, but with also all aspects of the commercial spaces as well. Bruce? Thank you.
So let me say this. The mayor's enthusiasm is infectious, and it's hard not to buy into his vision. I'm a housing guy. I believe very strongly that safe, decent, and affordable housing is the foundation of any community. But this project was always something more than that. It was to provide the neighborhood with a basis of a holistic approach. You've heard from our earlier press conference that we're bringing in health services through Catholic Charities. Now we have the grocery store. This project is going to be more than just housing. It's going to be the foundation of this neighborhood, the basis of a resurgence in the north side, something that I'm extremely proud to be part of. And by this time, in about 6 months, you're going to see the building emerging from the shell of the building emerging from the ground. Our steel is being delivered in 2 weeks, and then you'll start seeing all of that coming up. And then we're projecting an opening in the spring of 2020. So it's not only housing, but it's health services, it's the grocery store. We'll have another announcement for another tenant sometime in the future. And I'm just so proud to be part of this team and everything everybody's brought to it. And I've really enjoyed just working with everybody. So I'm glad to be a member of this team, and thank you.
Elaine Miller from the Binghamton Housing Authority. Again, another truly wonderful partner. Elaine and I go way back. We've worked together before. And Elaine spent a lot of sleepless nights and weekends on this project, making sure that it was able to come off the drawing board and make a reality as well. Elaine Miller?
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine.
All right, so we are so very excited to welcome the Northside Grocery, that's what we're calling it for now, for lack of a better term. Not only is the first grocery on the north side in a very long time, more than 2 decades, but also as an anchor of our mixed-use development at Canal Plaza. This announcement comes on the heels of our groundbreaking for Canal Plaza, which was just last month, when we announced our first anchor tenant, Broome County Catholic Charities. This is one of those times when an overwhelming desire of the community gets met by one of the finest organizations around, Council of Churches. Local relationships really do matter. So on behalf of the Binghamton Housing Authority and our not-for-profit Community Potential, who is co-developer of the project, we are so happy that you will be joining us. Congratulations to the Council of Churches for seizing this opportunity, and a big congratulations to Mayor Rich David, who has worked tirelessly to bring a grocery to this long-suffering neighborhood. Rich David has done something everyone had thought was impossible. He made it a priority to get a grocer on the north side. He never gave up and refused to accept the assertion that grocery stores don't come to neighborhoods like this. So once again, allow me to congratulate and welcome the Northside Grocery. Congratulations to the Northside residents. Thank you, Broome County Council of Churches and Mayor David. And Senator Akshar.
We have Diane Brown from the Community Foundation of South Central New York. Many meetings we in this group have had in the conference room, and I just want to not only thank you, but congratulate you and the Community Foundation as well. Another leading organization that without their effort and vision, frankly, this project would still be on the drawing board. Just a true example of what, whether it's a corporate citizen or community foundation, true example of what the mission of these type of organizations are. And it's wonderful. And I just want to applaud you and the foundation for, from a financial standpoint, from a vision standpoint, from an organizational standpoint, to advance a project of this caliber and magnitude off the drawing board. It's been wonderful working with you. Diane Brown.
I'm going to be very brief. It's been a real pleasure to work with this team, and Community Foundation has 2 roles. One is to raise money and give it back to the community, but also to convene the community around areas of interest and concern. And this has been a project that's been dear to our hearts for 18 months. It was last June that we took a trip to Utica. Tina Barber, our program officer, actually saw the Utica grocery store on Facebook, believe it or not. That's where she heard about it, and said, you know what, this looks like something that might be a solution for the north side. And we only provide some money, maybe a little bit of vision, and some meeting space. It's the partners behind me that have really put it all together. So thank you for letting me be part of this, and I think it's going to be a great project. We're proud to be part of it.
Okay, well, that was a long one, right? Mostly because of me. I like to talk, but there was, I think, a lot of really important things to say. So
Never give a preacher a mic either.
That's yes, between the 2 of us. That's a good one. Let's remember that. That's a good one. That's a good one. So that concludes our news conference. Certainly, anybody that's behind me is available for one.